Hello, everyone. Welcome to Global AppSec 2020. My name is John Ellingsworth, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about OWASP SAMM 2.0, a flagship project from the OWASP organization, used extensively across the world. And today I'm going to give you an overview of what the SAMM project is all about, how you can use it in your organization, and some tools of the trade to help you get started quickly. For background, my name is John Ellingsworth. I live in the United States in the New England area. I attended a couple of universities, one in Philadelphia and both in Philadelphia, actually. I've been involved with cybersecurity and web technology for over 20 years, working in startups. I've worked in higher education. I now work in the corporate world, doing software development, architecture, security, software development management. Currently, I'm a member of OWASP. I'm a main chapter lead, and I'm also a member of the SAMM core project team. I'm also a member of InfraGard and ASCP, where I contribute occasionally doing talks and other presentations. So what is SAMM? SAMM is a software assurance maturity model. It's an open framework that allows you to effectively measure and manage software development within your organization from a security perspective and to continuously improve your security posture. Specifically, it's measurable, actionable, and versatile. By measurable, it allows you to define specific maturity levels that you would like to achieve within your organization based upon your business posture. Yep, I'm going to start the slide over. Yep, software assurance maturity. So, yep. So what is SAMM? SAMM is a software assurance maturity model, an open framework from OWASP that provides an effective and measurable way for managing software development within your organization and improving your security posture within the software development functions. It's intended to be a measurable, actionable, and versatile framework, one that allows you to define maturity levels across your business and software development business practices based upon things like risk levels and risk ranking. It provides clear pathways for improving your maturity levels that are incrementally achievable over time. And it's versatile. It doesn't adhere to a specific technology, process, or software development practice such as waterfall or Scrum. Its goal is to be agnostic to all of those capabilities. So what resources does SAMM provide? It provides a way for evaluating your organization's existing software security practices. What are you doing today? How well are you doing it? What are the opportunities for improving it? It allows you to build a balanced software security assurance program in well-defined iterations that are applicable to your organization's speed and your development lifecycle. It allows you to demonstrate these concrete improvements over time to your security assurance program by focusing on specific measurable objectives and activities. And those activities are designed to be specific to your particular organization. There's no need to focus on activities that bring low value to the organization, but instead allow you to focus on high value activities that are achievable in a short turnaround time. So SAMM, it's another model. George E.P. Box says the most that can be expected from any model is that it can supply a useful approximation to reality. All models are wrong, some models are useful. SAMM is not a perfect model, but it is a highly usable and adaptable model. So in your organization, you can tailor it to your organizational needs and leverage the components of the model that are most practical and valuable to your organization. Some of the principles, there are 4 guiding principles for the software assurance maturity model. An organization's behavior changes slowly over time. There's no reason to try and boil the ocean all at once. The changes are intended to be iterative, working toward a long-term goal of increasing the maturity of not only of the organization, but of the individual contributors and the teams involved with those goals. There's no single recipe that works for all organizations. The solution must be risk-based to the organization. Guidance related to security actions must be prescriptive. There's the solution should really provide enough guidance for people to understand what needs to be done from a security perspective, particularly for non-security people, so that there's buy-in and alignment with the goals that you're trying to achieve. And overall, it must be simple, well-defined, and measurable. And those are the guiding principles of OWASP SAMM, and those are the things that we'll be talking about today. Just a bit of brief background on the project. The OWASP SAMM is actually a reincarnation of an earlier named Open SAMM, the Open Software Assurance Maturity Model. Started in March 2009. It kind of was released at that time, but a lot of development did not take place until March 2016, when there was a 1.1 version released, but then a decision was also made to migrate and donate the project over to OWASP, the Open Web Application Security Project, in March 2016. During the period of March 2016 to February 2017, a lot of work was done, particularly around the OWASP SAMM toolkit, and in February 2017, OWASP SAMM 1.5 was released. Since 2017, a lot of work was then contributed towards 2.0, and in January 2020 of this year, OWASP SAMM 2.0 was released. There's a lot of active development going on with the project. It's currently hosted on GitHub, where you can find more information, and I'll provide some links later on for you to find that. So at a high level, SAMM is intended to provide an adaptable approach. The cycle generally follows this pattern here, where we prepare the organization for a rollout of a SAMM framework. We do the assessments, we set the target of maturity levels that we would like to achieve within particular software development functions and the activities involved with that. We define a plan for that over time, whether that's a period of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, a multi-phased approach that gets defined and then implemented within the organization and then subsequently rolled out. Once that rollout is done for a particular phase, it makes sense to, at the end of each phase, to assess and evaluate the progress that has been made, recognize the achievements of the teams, celebrate the maturity that has been improved, and then go through the process again of evaluating and setting the target, updating the plan, implementing and rolling it out, until you achieve the desired maturity level within your organization. So SAMM versions 1.5 and 2.0. Some big changes between the two, primarily with regard to the number of software development business functions that exist within the framework. In 1.5, there are 4. In SAMM 2.0, there were 5. Some of them were kind of reevaluated in terms of their specific criteria, as well as recognizing that things like Scrum and DevOps and DevSecOps have basically required the evaluation of maturity to be redefined. So new functions were added as well. There are still 3 security practices for each business function. Those security practices are intended to cover the areas relevant to software security assurance and software development from a security perspective. The activities within those practices are now presented in a more logical flow, divided into 2 streams, intended to link the activities within the practice over the various maturity levels. And we'll talk about a little bit in a moment. And each stream is basically an objective that can be reached within increasing levels of maturity. This way, there aren't activities that are kind of orphaned or done on their own that don't have some kind of logical relationship to the other activities being performed by the team. And so here at a high level is a 1.5 view. We can see the 4 business functions of 1.5 of governance, construction, verification, and operations, each broken down with 3 separate security practices that we can see here. 2.0 basically changed a few of the names of those. For example, construction is no longer within this framework. It's been broken out into design and implementation, giving us the 5 total. We have governance, design, implementation, verification, and operations. Within governance, we have strategy and metrics, policy and compliance, and education and guidance. Those are things that leadership is tends to be most interested in. So a strong emphasis on establishing those early as part of your maturity plan is a good way to set the framework up in your organization. Design, critical phase, threat assessment, security requirements, and secure architecture, foundational components to that. Implementation consists of secure build, secure deployment, and defect management. Verification, we have architecture assessment, requirements-driven testing, and security testing. This is where your pen testing may take place. You may have DAST or SAST tools in place where you might be using to validate development practices. And then operations, we have incident management, environment management, and operational management. So let's take a look at these in a little more detail. Actually, these are the areas that are new within the 2.0 framework. So let's take a look at those in more detail. So within the governance function, we have the streams on the left of create and promote under strategy and metrics, policy and standards under policy and compliance in stream A, and training and awareness in stream A. So we can see that in an organization, there might be a desire to focus upon a given stream within any of the business functions and practices within those functions. In design, we have under threat assessment, app risk profile, software requirements, architecture design. A nice consideration for the design and all of these as well is that these activities and streams may apply to scenarios where you are doing in-house development or custom development only, and you want to apply the framework specific to that type of software management versus software that you've acquired through a third-party vendor. You may still decide to use the SAMM framework against those third-party vendors that are providing the software for you and do validation of their maturity levels and implementations and those types of things for assurance within your organization. So secure build, we have build process, secure deployment process, and defect management, defect tracking. And so each of these streams have been added to the 2.0 version, which, as I mentioned earlier, allow you to focus on specific objectives within those business functions and achieve maturity levels specific to your organization. All right, so when it comes to maturity levels and scoring, SAMM is basically defined okay, I'm gonna start over on that slide. Okay, so maturity levels and scoring. In SAMM, the intention of the framework, of course, is to determine the maturity level of the software development practices within your organization and provide transparency over the different levels of maturity within the organization so that you can tailor improvements and activities specific to those maturity levels. It also increases visibility to key stakeholders within your organization. So the framework generally provides 3 levels of maturity. There's actually a 4th, if we consider 0, which basically consists of, an organization may not be actually doing anything within a particular activity, and so they're at a level 0. In the case of an organization where teams are doing things at an ad hoc level, they may occasionally do some pen testing. They may have a dynamic scanning tool that they run occasionally. They may do pen testing once or twice in the lifetime of an application, but they're not doing it with any kind of repeatability. At level 2, a team is actually doing things in a repeatable manner with a focus on efficiency and effectiveness, and they're doing it on at least half of the applications that within the organization or within the scope of the assessment. And level 3 is certainly there is mastery within the organization across the organization. Most or all stakeholders or applications within scope are achieving those or performing those activities, and they're evaluating them manually, for example, to determine the effectiveness and areas of improvement for those activities each year. So within SAMM, within the version 2, 2020, there's been some focus on how the questions were put together within the assessment toolbox. The assessment toolbox is basically at this point in time, it's a Microsoft Excel document. There are some other variations of that, which we'll go over shortly, but the founding tool was an Excel document that basically asks a series of questions for each, within each stream and activity regarding what the teams are doing or the organization is doing with regard to that particular question. So in this particular case, the question around strategy and metrics and promotion of risks to prioritize applications by, there's some quality criteria underneath the question, such as you have captured the risk appetite of your organization's executive leadership. The organization's leadership have vetted and approved risks. You've identified the main business and technical threats to your organization's assets and data, and risks are documented and accessible to relevant stakeholders. There are numerous organizations that have really not gone through this type of risk assessment for the applications that they're basically responsible for. And so this is an area where prioritizing these things and creating a set of activities to improve the maturity of the organization is instrumental to effectively improving the organization's maturity on this particular stream. The questions follow this kind of template throughout the framework within the toolbox. So within a stream you have, or I should say within a business function such as governance, and under strategy and metrics, you have a stream and a maturity level, a question, and then some quality criteria for that question. So as you go through the toolbox, if you decide to play around with it, you can read these quality criteria, which will help guide both the interviewer and interviewees to understand what is it that the question is actually asking, and to answer the question as honestly as you can with full awareness of what it means to meet the criteria that's being asked. We'll take a look at some of those other questions shortly. So how do you achieve success within your organization? One is you need to have buy-in from key stakeholders. Key stakeholders are maybe product owners, software development team itself, members of your security team if they exist separately from software development team, directors, managers, directors, all the way up to the C-level. You want to adopt a risk-based approach. You definitely want to do some kind of risk assessment of the applications that exist within your portfolio. Determine, for example, revenue at risk. What is the risk of us having some kind of business impact if we don't focus on this application? There are a lot of risk-based approaches to determining that you can certainly reference, and revenue at risk is certainly a good one. Reputational risk, a lot of different risk factors to consider, but once you've gone through that risk-based assessment and prioritization, you can then focus on those applications that are high risk or critical risk. Clearly define the initiative scope. Scope is an interesting and probably one of the more interesting challenges within SAMM, in that you need to very clearly understand what applications are in scope for the assessment and the metrics that you're going to be generating from that assessment. For example, in a large corporation, you may have multiple lines of business, and within those lines of business, you may have multiple product teams, each with their own independent software development teams supporting those products. You may have, and within those lines of business, there are different levels of business criticality and risk involved with those applications. So you definitely want to make sure that you segment the applications into the appropriate scope, so that when you're performing an assessment of a set of applications, you are comparing apples to apples in terms of the maturity level, and not doing an apples to oranges comparison, because if you do, you'll run the risk of not fairly assessing the applications, imposing activities and practices on the teams that are developing those applications that may be unnecessary and or not bringing business value. So clearly defining the initiative scope is an important factor. Awareness and education are the foundation. There are many organizations where software development security practices are just not really understood. They're not, may not even be aware of them at certain levels within the organization. So sharing the activities, what should we be doing is a critical component of success within rolling out the framework. Integration and automation, of course, is the only way to become scalable in this day and age. But integrating it within not only development, but acquisition, working with third-party vendors, and also with deployment and operational side of software development. You need to really integrate those fully and automate them so that you can scale effectively. And most importantly, measure. So as we all know, we've heard the phrase, if you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. And so this framework will allow you to measure the performance over time, the maturity over time, and provide management the visibility they need to understand how to prioritize not only resources, but funding and other initiatives that support those activities. Okay, so we're going to shift a little bit now and talk about tools of the trade that will help you in your implementation of OWASP SAMM within your organization. Right now, we are aware of at least 6 tools that exist that help you get started with the framework and actually will allow you to implement and fully manage the program if you choose to do so. Those consist of the OWASP SAMM toolkit provided by the SAMM project. It's a Microsoft Excel-based version of an assessment questionnaire. There's a SAMM 2.0 calculator by Concord USA, which is an organization, a company in the United States that provides security assessments and services to companies that would like to leverage their expertise. SAMM 2.0 dashboard, which was developed by Satish Ashwin, and which has been actually been contributed to the OWASP SAMM project and available on GitHub. It's a standalone application you can run in your own environment. OWASP Maturity Models is another web application that you can set up and run within your organization. There also is in active development and evaluation, the OWASP SAMM toolkit in a Google Docs version. So instead of dependency on Microsoft Excel, we shifted it to Google Sheets and are currently working with that version for full compatibility. And then there's the OWASP SAMM assessment, which is also built on Google Docs using Google Forms and Google Data Studio, which allows you to capture data and then run it through some good visualizations in Google Data Studio. So let's take a quick look at each one of these and see what they have to offer. The OWASP SAMM toolkit for Microsoft Excel, it contains all the assessment questions from the framework. There are 90 questions in total. And it does automatic maturity level calculations. So as you go through each of the questions, there's a rating box you can see there in the screenshot on the right that will actually develop or convey or represent your current maturity level. There's also a scorecard tab or sheet within the document, within the file, that allows you to visualize your maturity level. It has actually a roadmap calculation tool that allows you to select your desired maturity level in each of the phases that you go through in order to successfully come up with a plan. And then there's a roadmap chart that will show you your progress over time. This is ready to use. It's actively supported, actively developed by the OWASP SAMM project, and you can visit it at the GitHub site and download it and get started. Here's a kind of a zoom in view of an assessment of Team Zissou done in March of this year, where they've done some answering of questions around strategy and metrics in the create and promote stream. So a rating level of less than 1 shows that they're in an ad hoc state and there's some opportunity to improve it. Here on this screen, we can see that after the assessment was completed and all the questions were answered, we can see the current maturity score for this particular team. We can see in each of the functions and security practices, the maturity level, as well as within each of the specific maturity levels themselves. There's an opportunity for a team, it is possible for a team to generally do fairly well in one maturity level versus another, which is just an indicator of an opportunity for improvement on other maturity levels. So this kind of view allows us to see the areas where teams are doing fairly well within a given maturity and practice. On the right side, we have a nice spider web chart that shows how we are currently performing with regard to maturity of all the various practices. Here's the road mapping tool, which, for example, in phase 1 at the top there in pink, we can see that the current answer to a given question is no, but we can, in phase 2, we can decide to focus upon improving that and changing that to the next level up, which would be yes for at least half of the metrics. So each of those green cells, all the cells actually in the answer column, is a drop-down box that you can select an answer to improve that particular maturity. If you choose to leave it the same, the cells in the subsequent phases will stay white. If you bump it up, then it will turn green. I should point out that that pink one there is an indicator that you've actually tried to lower the maturity level from the initial assessment, which is not a recommended practice. So as you do this, you can see within each of the rating columns the maturity level of each of those practices going up. And over time, in the various phases, whether it's 2 phases or 4 phases or n+1 phases, your maturity level over time can be specifically seen and measured. So here we see, just as a kind of a prototype, where the organization was at the start, and then in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4, as the team focuses on those particular activities. In this particular case, there was this is just an example for the governance function. So SAMM 2.0 calculator from Concord, USA. Again, it's similar to the Excel toolkit in that it's a self-guided assessment. Does a very similar approach to breakdown by function and practice and maturity. It's a web-based tool. It's actually available now. You can go to the URL at the bottom of the screen and check out their application. It provides a progress bar, gives you feedback as you complete each of the sections. It also, if you're willing to sign up with your email address, you can become part of their industry benchmark comparison, and it's ready to use. So here's an example of the web-based version, which, as you can see, is quite easy to use. You can show more and see the criteria for the particular question if you need to understand what the question is asking a little bit more. And then on the right, you can pick the answer that's most applicable to your organization. And then at the end of that particular business function, we can see the outcome and maturity level of a given team at that time. So in this particular case, in strategy and metrics, 0.25 out of 3, some area of opportunity for improvement, policy and compliance, education and guidance. Each one of those practices has a maturity level that you can dive into deeper to prioritize further. And in this particular case, it gives you a score out of a total of 9, which would be the sum of each of those practices maturity level. So again, the URL at the bottom of the screen will allow you to do this assessment at any time. SAMM 2.0 dashboard by Satish Ashwin. He developed this on his own primarily. It's a SaaS application. It's available at the link at the bottom of the screen there. It does have its own authentication, local authentication with some role-based access control. It has a number of nice visualizations within it, including practice trending, readiness factor, trends over time, monthly trends. It is an Angular project. As I said, it's on GitHub under the OWASP project. It does allow you to generate a PDF or Excel report for sharing within your organization. It is self-hosted. There isn't currently one of these instances running anywhere as far as I'm aware of. That's certainly likely to change, but it is ready to use if you would like to stand it up within your organization. So OWASP Maturity Models is a node project on GitHub. Its primarily focus has been more on BSIM, which is another maturity model, more focused on descriptive approach of maturity and what organizations are doing. And it does have some integration with OWASP SAMM, as you can see here in the screenshot. Self-hosted solution. Not sure if it's been updated to 2.0, but maybe worth exploring. Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is a web, early version of Microsoft Excel. It's been around for a while now. In this particular case, we did an import of the Excel version into Google Sheets, and the compatibility was pretty good. Certainly some fine-tuning was needed and is still needed to keep it in sync with the Excel version. We're working on looking at automating the integration between the Google Sheets and the updates to the GitHub project so that it's, for example, if assessment questions change, there's no need to change the Google Sheets version. There could be a master that stays in sync. It can be used, it can be exported as an Excel file itself. You can use it locally. You can also export data out to other reporting tools and share with others. Other reporting tools could potentially include something like Google Data Studio or Tableau, using their automated integration with Google Sheets. Then Google Forms and Data Studio is yet another tool that's available. So Google Forms is built on top of Google Sheets, allows you to basically build a survey or an assessment tool in this case, using Google Sheets that you can share with people either within your organization using Google authentication. You can share with anyone really who has a valid email address. Data stored in Google Sheets. It's a pretty easy form to maintain in general. It can be cloned, so the existing form at the link below, you can make a copy of that form and tailor it to your organization. If you'd like, responses can be edited. These are features and capabilities within Google Forms that you manage and can set. So if someone needs to, for example, edit an answer or add additional information to support that answer, they can do so. A nice feature about this is that you can export it, as I said earlier, to other reporting tools, in particular Google Data Studio, which we see here in a screenshot where an organization has done 2 assessments using the toolkit, and then the data from the toolkit has been plugged into Google Data Studio, giving us some nice visualizations out of the box that we can see here. It's actively being evaluated and validated as a viable alternative to the Microsoft Excel version, just as another kind of tool in the toolbox for folks to use to hit the ground running. So the assessment toolkit and toolbox is really kind of a foundational component of the framework. So we would love to know what kind of features you would like to see in OWASP SAMM assessment tools. Here on the screen, you can see there's a feature request form that we put together just to kind of gather some feedback. Of course, you can always submit a request into GitHub on the OWASP SAMM project as well. Or if you prefer, you can drop us a line at owaspsam.org/contact and let us know what you think about the assessment tools or the framework in general, or any other thoughts you might have about OWASP SAMM. So we really encourage, we can't do this on our own. It's a lot of work for a small number of global supporters and project members. So we definitely would love your engagement, interaction, and collaboration. You can certainly learn more about OWASP SAMM at owaspsam.org. You can check us out on Slack. It's a pretty busy channel, but we have members constantly answering questions and providing support along the way. So check it out. GitHub, definitely please contribute anything. If you find an issue, spelling mistake, issues with formatting, technical issues, bugs, please let us know. We want to make it better. Sign up for the newsletter. There's a EE-Pearl there, URL right there. It'll take you to a MailChimp sign-up page where you can join our mailing list. And then certainly check out the OWASP.org website under the Project SAMM page. We would love to have your involvement. We do have some sponsorship. We can see a number of them here. We appreciate the support of all of our sponsors, and if you're interested in sponsoring, OWASP SAMM, check out the URL at the bottom of the screen. We would love to have your support. And just at a high level, over the last few years, these are some of the folks who've been actively involved with development. This is certainly not an exhaustive list, but many of these folks are actively involved today and continue to be involved, and hopefully will continue to be involved in the future. And we'd love to add your name to the list. So please join us. And thank you. My name is John Ellingsworth. You can reach out to me or find me at any of those URLs there. So appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks.